Dr. Barry, London News, and I'd like to welcome Rachel all the way from Luton, I believe, in England. And she had a video up recently in relation where some very naughty police smashed down her door, smashed it to pieces, in fact. And Rachel, I'll show people a clip of that, but why did that happen? They did all that just to get a breath test, which proved negative. Is that correct?
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me on, Barry. So first of all, I live in Bakewell in Derbyshire in the Peak District in England, just so you know. So it's kind of a bit more north than Luton.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I actually have a lock on my external gate, a padlock, with a sign saying visitors by appointment only. So I was very surprised to hear, like at 11:30 at night, this kind of rattling of the gate, someone trying to get in. And then I'm seeing torchlights in the garden, and then they're knocking on the door, and it's the police. So I open it on a latch, and I'm like, how did you get through the gate? It says visitors by appointment only. And they said, well, we took it off the hinges. So I knew immediately that they were trespassing and that my castle doctrine had been violated. And then they asked to speak to X, who was inside the house. Well, at the time, it's actually only since the incident that I really looked into castle doctrine, but I just knew that they were trespassing. They violated my boundary, shall we say. And so they asked to come in to see X, who was a guest at my home. And I said, well, I don't think that you can do that. I don't think that, I said, actually, do you have a warrant? I mean, the thing is, I didn't actually I didn't have the presence of mind to video this initial exchange. It was only later that my son came downstairs when he heard what was going on, who caught the whole thing on video, luckily. So I was like, do you have a warrant? And they said, no, we don't need one. I said, are you sure about that? I'm sure you need a warrant. They said, no, we don't need one. And I said, I think I need to speak to my solicitor. And they said, no time for that. Open the door. You've got 10 seconds to open the door. So it was like a threat. And to be quite honest, I thought they were kind of bluffing. I really thought that they were bluffing. And then they're like, and I'm like, I need to speak to my solicitor. And then they're like, stand back, we're coming in. And then they basically started smashing the windows. So they didn't just smash one pane, if you look at the video.
Hello, Rachel.
This guy just smashed our door.
I can't believe you've done
this.
I need you to open the door.
What are you doing?
I need you to open the door. Otherwise we'll have to cause some further damage.
What are you doing? This is outrageous.
This guy got bullied.
Step back from the door, please.
What the hell are you doing?
Oh my God!
Just let him.
Oh my God, what are you doing? We do not consent.
We do not consent to this.
We do not consent.
You don't have the right to do this.
You do not have the right to do this. We do not consent. We do not
Look at this guy.
This
Oh,
is
you're
terrifying.
fucked. You're screwed.
You are cooked, my friend.
This is terrifying.
Are you sure you want to do this, mate?
Are you sure?
Are you sure you want to do this?
Surely you need a warrant to do
We
this.
do not consent to you coming into our property.
Oh my God! I can't believe you're doing this.
Stand back away from the door, please.
I
Molly.
can't
Stand back away from the
believe.
door.
What's your badge number?
14317, you've already got it.
Molly,
Stand back
Molly
from the door,
though.
please.
Is it Molly?
Stand back from the door.
Is it
You're
Molly?
videoing
Stand back
this.
from the
Is
door,
it,
please.
is it
We are
Molly?
videoing
Stand back
this.
from the
What's
door.
your name?
Look at
Oh
this
my
guy.
God!
What's your
Stand
name?
back from
What's
the
your
door.
Oh
name?
my God!
You can't be doing this.
Yeah, Mum, it's alright. It's just a door, calm down.
Oh my God! What are
Calm
you
down.
doing?
Look at this guy.
It's alright.
What is this guy doing? You're screwed.
Calm
What
down.
are you doing?
Oh, you're going viral, mate.
You are just doing it for the fun of
Oh
it. Fuck
my
me.
God! What are you doing?
This is insane.
You're going to cause so much damage.
This is insane.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my God!
This is insane.
What the hell are you doing, mate? We do not consent to this.
Oh God!
Insane.
This is terrifying.
What So,
This is terrifying.
what are you doing?
What the hell are you doing? Look at this guy. What have you done? You should. We do not give you consent to enter.
You are absolutely
We do not give you consent to enter.
We do not consent. We do not understand.
My personal view, let's just pause a second. My personal view is that this whole situation is absolutely unlawful.
Okay, that's your personal view, not based on any legal basis.
8 seconds to decide whether you want to put on this machine or not, otherwise we're going to custody.
Long, slow breath for me. Ready?
You sure Kobe's alright?
Go, 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 go. Happy, that's it. There we go.
You sure Kobe's alright?
Yeah, it's good. Check.
Zero.
Fabulous.
That's it.
Right.
Nice
These
one.
can come off then. So, do you want to do me a favour? Can you
What
just
do you
stand up
mean?
for
He's
me?
completely
Stand up, there we go.
innocent,
You
and
lean
you've
forward
gone
for me.
through
I'll
all
take-
of
no, no, no,
this.
stand up
Yeah.
and lean forward because it's easier for me to take them off.
Absolutely
Oh, this is brilliant.
Stand
This
up
is
and
brilliant,
Could have
mate.
done this in the doorway. I said we
Oh, you fucking.
downstairs.
I can't believe this. You just did all that for this. Wow. When you walk out the house, look at the sky. You'll see Saturn up there. Karma's getting your ass.
They smashed in.
You are fucking cool.
Look at this. This is what they did. Look at this.
Go on. Scum. Most useless human being.
Have we got all of our details?
We'll come back and give you a piece of paper with our collar numbers on and the
Sure.
incident number.
Don't worry, you'll go
Should you
viral.
wish to make a complaint.
You'll go viral.
Have the nice rest of the evening.
Most useless.
I'll write all of our details.
They actually smashed all 4 panes of glass. I mean, I was actually, by this point, I was actually in shock
Of course.
that they'd done this. And I'm like, what are you doing? We don't consent. So when the video that you've got cuts in, I know some of your viewers who saw it previously said I was a bit hysterical, but bear in mind, this was some minutes into where my horror was escalating, because I kind of knew this couldn't be lawful.
Yeah.
And they did quote something very garbled and quick, which in retrospect, I believe is Section 17 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, which basically says, now that I've read it, basically says if there's a serious criminal on the run or a drunk driver on the run, then under this act, allegedly, they have the right to enter a property to apprehend them.
Yeah, but this is where they got to see that happening. They got to follow it, and if they lose sight, I'm an ex-cop. If they lose sight of that alleged criminal, and they find him somewhere else, they can't continue it's a different kettle of fish altogether. Then they must witness and follow to and into the property.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because it was an allegation, I believe, because I haven't seen the witness statements, and lots of people are advising me on, and I'm still assessing my options. But it would appear that a neighbour alleged that the guest in my home hit her parked car, and they also alleged that he must have been drunk. So I don't believe that there was any witness to the incident, and I don't believe there was any evidence whatsoever to support the fact he was a drunk driver. And of course, when finally they did smash their way in, came through the door, even though we're saying we do not consent, just walked straight through, ignored us and walked straight through, basically went and searched every room and found him in the upstairs room. And I then intervened and said, and I say it on the video, I believe this is unlawful. What's that you're holding? It's upside down, actually.
That's okay. I'm just I won't put this up. This is trying to focus the camera so I can actually see myself. It's off.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. Let's come back.
No worries.
To one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I actually paused to say that I believe that this is absolutely unlawful, because I knew instinctively it was unlawful what they were doing. And they're like, no, this is perfectly legal. Now, I basically said to my guest, you have the right to remain silent. You do not consent. I would have personally not consented to any of it. But he basically kind of, for a quiet life, he just complied, and he blew into the breathalyzer. And I believe that they fully expected it to be positive, and it's a "you're nicked," and then they're like, "Oh, it's 0." Like,
oh my God.
and then at that point, I said, "Right, you're not leaving. I'm phoning the police." I mean, bizarrely, I don't know. So I'm phoning 999 now, and so I said I want the police. I said, "There's 4 criminals in my house who've just broken my door down. You need to come and arrest them," sort of thing. And they said, "They're police officers." I said, "No, they're criminals." They said, "No, basically said, you're wasting police time." And anyway, these 4 just walked out of the house. I said, "What are you going to do about my door?" They said, "It's not our problem, love." And basically left and like, "Have a nice day," sort of thing. And I was just completely in shock. And it actually took 2 more calls to the police, 2 calls to the police to basically complain and say, like, "You've left me completely vulnerable. The door's completely smashed in. We can't secure the house." And eventually a sergeant at the local police station agreed to send a emergency person to board up the door. At about 4:30 a.m. they arrived, so I was up all night, and it's basically completely wrecked our front door, and they've had to screw it shut. It's like bolted shut and boarded up. And I mean, and there've been, but the interesting thing as well, there's been not one follow-up courtesy call or anyone saying, "We're really sorry about what happened," or "What can we do to address the situation?" And I've obviously put these videos up, and they've had probably over 30,000, 35,000 views so far, and yet not a peep out of the police to actually any kind of sort of victim support. And obviously I was not involved in this incident, so you know, it's like actually really nothing to do with me. And I don't believe that I had legally or lawfully to actually allow them into my property. That's what I believe. But I mean, I still need to get. I still need to speak to various people. Have offered to speak to me about it, and everyone seems to have a slightly different view of how to redress and remedy the situation. So I'm currently taking advice on what to do next, but I'm still in shock, to be honest.
You've got a really big case there, because they what they've done was completely unlawful. The fact that someone said that that particular character was in your house, it's just somebody's word. So they've broken the law. They've actually broken into, and they've caused harm, loss, and injury. So they, under common law, they're called harm, loss, and injury. So you can sue them through a common law court if you had one there, which we would do here. But solicitors, they have to compensate you for your injury, your loss, and the indignity and everything that you suffered. You're entitled to. So
Yeah.
you get a really good solicitor, because they get money out of it as well. It's a money game. So the more expensive solicitor you get, the better chance you have of winning something, and then they'll come to some deal and pay for everything and sort something out. But what they did was totally wrong. I mean, England, I mean, the sheriff's office comes from England. It goes back to Alfred the Great. It went to America in 1635, and the people can't say it doesn't work, because it's working in America. You've got sheriff's office, and the guy who tried to shoot our next president, I hope, was arrested by a sheriff. So the sheriff's office is alive and well in America since 1634 and 35, and it came from England. So God's sake, get out of the sandpit, get some people to set up. I've been talking to a few people in England now that are interested. You need to set it up and do it as we've done it here. It's proper. There's not the police and us. We're friendly with the police. I'm an ex-cop. I help the police out anytime I can. I'm a member of the police blue ribbon and so on. So that it's not an animosity thing. It's working together, because statute law only applies to the deceased estates at law. It only applies to dead people, not men and women.
Yes.
So you have to wake up the fact that you're not a person, you're either a man or a woman, and get out of their sandpit, because they are.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing that I understand that people have said about, for example, going to court here, if you mention this word free man, if you say, I am a free man of the land, they basically dismiss you out of the court, apparently.
Yes. There's no such thing as free man. Forget free man.
Okay.
And citizen and citizen. Oh, look, there's a lot of rubbish going around. You're a man or a woman, end of story.
Right.
You have to be free. Well, the word free, you see, freedom is a load of BS as well. It's liberty. Liberty. You look up Black's Law or Bowers Dictionary, if you call it. All these terms comes up and they explain it. So it's liberty, not freedom. Freedom only applies to, it's a song, something, what's that? Something else to do. Since I've been to have my valve done, I can't think anymore. It affected my brain. But anyway, no, it's liberty and lawful. Legal only applies to deceased estates at law, which is a person. But if you want to get compensation, you have to go entity to entity. So you'd have to go as a person to sue them in their system, because you can't. If we go after somebody in a council, we go after the man in charge or the woman in charge, which is the CEO, in their private capacity as a man or as a woman.
Right, and people have said that to go after the chief constable.
The chief constable
of Derbyshire Police.
The chief constable responsible. Try honey first, and then the vinegar, because I would go to a good solicitor and explain your case, because you've got it documented, and it's documented around the world. And any decent solicitor worth his weight in gold would do it pro bono, more than likely, but because they can share the spoils. Which you definitely, the police had no right to take somebody else's word that they assumed that the person who pranged into I hate that word, person who pranged into the car inside your house. And that's not enough. The police have to have more evidence that to happen. They only can follow and break down a door in pursuit, hot pursuit, not just on a hearsay.
Yes, that's what I imagine too.
Little fat constable, he was a really vindictive little bastard.
You may say that, I couldn't possibly comment.
Well, I can. He was,
but yeah, I mean, I think
the British police way back in the 60s and in the old days, and we loved the people loved us, and we played with the kids in the street. But things have changed.
This is the thing. This is the thing. I mean, when I was growing up, everyone really respected the police, and you kind of did what they said, and you didn't really question them. And they tended to be older, wiser sort of people, sort of maybe in their 30s or 40s or 50s. Now it's like one of those apparently went to school with my son, who's 21, so literally just out of police college or whatever they put them through. And I think that this is what's happening, that they are recruiting very young people who are easily malleable, easy to sort of MK Ultra brainwash, and who are very compliant, who will not question. Same thing is happening, I think, here in the National Health Service. You've got lots of nurses who will just blindly, jab
I had my heart
without
valve
question.
And I was a nurse one time, believe it or not. I've done everything. Look, I'm 79 in November, and a third-year student couldn't put a cannula in. I mean, believe it, we were doing that in first year,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, and the police, for God's sake, I wish the chief constables, if they ever watch this, to teach these people the law. I remember under the law one time we would never cross onto the grass of a private property, because it was private property unless we're invited. But it's gone. But there is no law anymore, and the EU started all that off, and of course now England is out of the EU, and they got their police force back, but they've privatized. I think most of the police forces are privatized or registered with Dun and Bradshaw.
Well, this is the thing here, obviously in the UK, that the police constables have to swear an oath to the king, and it's very clear that it's their duty to protect the people and their property. They're also supposed to be non-political. So, I did at one point say, as they were doing this, are you acting under your oath? Because the oath is really, really clear. And, another interesting thing that I've experienced here, we went to a court to support a friend, and the police they didn't call themselves police constables, they called themselves emergency workers. And I think that is one way that they're getting around their oath of office, that they're not calling themselves police constables, they're saying we were emergency workers who attended XYZ.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important to say, are you acting under your oath? And I did definitely say that to them,
They're not. They're not. They're a private company and a private corporation. They work for private corporations, and that's the difference between a sheriff and a constable. The constable hasn't got the same authority. The sheriff is elected by the people. If you look at the American ones, I've put quite a few examples up there. The sheriff is elected by the people and is not responsible for the government or anybody in the government. They're responsible only to the people, and they can't be sacked. They have to be elected or re-elected. And
interesting.
That's what we need to do, to go back to that system.
We've just had elections for the police and crime commissioner, but the crazy thing about that is that they're all part of political parties. So I actually spoiled my ballot paper and I wrote, I do not consent. The police are supposed to be non-political, so none of the above, because they were all standing from political parties. I mean, the system has gone absolutely insane that you can have these political parties standing people. Surely they should be independent of all political parties, I would have thought. But
it's sad. It's very sad. Try and refrain from the word consent. I do not contract.
Okay.
Because it is contract law, you see. It's all contract. And but what
the reason I said that is I believe that policing here is by consent, and
consent's a very weak word, by contract, because if you see, the thing is, there's another statement you can say right now. See, an act is something that takes place on a stage. It's a racket,
right?
It's like a tennis court. It's a court with a racket. And Hollywood is full of actors. Solicitors don't work for you, they act for you. So the whole thing is an act.
Right.
And acts only apply to persons. They don't apply. It's in any law, if you ring up, I got hundreds of law books at the back there, if I ring up, it says a person found committing. It never says a man or a woman. It's
right.
A person found committing. So at the time of the alleged offense, I was a man or I was a woman. And because they might be asked in court, what are you now? Well, I am a woman or I am a man. And at the time of the offense, I was a man or I was a woman. So this act does not apply to me. I go to court for people quite a lot. Well, I don't do it so much now, but I did do it a lot. And I used to get them to read out the act, the prosecution, then they read out the act, a man and woman. I said, well, hang on a moment, we have a problem here. And we do identifications for people that states they're a man or a woman. And on the bottom, it's got the post office barcode, which goes to the post office. It's registered with the post office. That number is yours for life. So, there's my identification. I'm a man or a woman. So at that particular time, it didn't apply. And you can walk out of court with them. But they keep changing the rules as well. So what's the rule today? Next week, the goalposts will be at the back of the court and it'll all change. But you've got a good case to bring up against them in relation to your entry, that they have broken the law. You have it on video, and you need to get a good solicitor that is going to cost some money, because if you get the one at the back who's just left law school, well, he's not going to do much for you, because you should go after them for £500,000 or something, something big. Make it big, otherwise you're wasting your time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You go for £1 million. Why not? Because or £500,000, because then you will get the interest from a solicitor that will, I can make 10-15% of that as well. So, and don't put any money up front, because if you put £100,000 up front, any barrister can put that in his pocket and say work done. So you've got to be very, very careful as well, because they. Oh yes, they're a tricky bunch. But I think there are some decent ones there, and you get a decent, but you don't let that slide. You need.
I mean, it does feel to me that. I mean, one of the worrying things about this was afterwards when the emergency guy came to board up the door. He said, "Oh, this is a normal occurrence. This is happening all the time. This is my whole job. I'm going after people where they've just, they've got a chainsaw and they've cut the door in half." And so this is my concern as someone who is very interested in rights and law. I think they picked on the wrong person, you see. And this is what concerns me, that this is happening unabated, day in, day out, and that it's going unchecked. And they are doing this systematically to people, terrorizing people in their own homes, destroying property, and then just walking away. And it's fundamentally wrong. And it's important. I just so strongly feel with all of these things, we have to make a stand. Enough is enough.
Have you seen Bannerman's videos on the evictions?
Yes, and in fact, he does a lot on Derbyshire. He does a lot on Derbyshire Police. He's local to us, and they have actually got a very bad reputation, Derbyshire Police. And I think this is the thing, is that it can't go on. We need to stop this. How dare? And these people are our public servants. We pay, for these people. How dare they do this and violate the people? They're supposed to be our servants, upholding the law, acting in accordance with their oath. And they are it's almost like they are out of control.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. It really is bad. And I think if things in America change in November, the things around the world will change after that. But if not, we're pretty doomed. But I would contact Mark Bannerman. How are you? Mark's a great guy. I spoke to him for a couple of hours one night, and I always put some of these videos up, and it gets a lot of But get yourself I would never employ a solicitor, because I know the law. I've been studying for 15 years. I don't trust some of them, but there are some decent ones, and you'll find a sympathetic one that will take this case on and get, because you need to be compensated for the damage and for personal damage and injury. You see,
and it was highly traumatic, and it's highly traumatic, and it's basically kind of wrecked the whole of the past week has been kind of wiped out with. And then having to, and all, it takes time, to pursue these things and to follow up. And yeah, it's very, very disturbing and devastating when something like this happens out of the blue. And it's a shock. It's like a shock trauma, not just to me, but to my sons. It's a violation of our household. I mean, it's shifted the energy of the house. And we've been violated. Yeah.
Horrible. And we have crime here in Melbourne and all around Australia is really bad. We housebreaking, shootings. It's all part of, I call them criminal politicians. It's what they want. They want chaos, and they encourage the police. The poor old police here are trying to catch criminals all the time, and they catch them, and they're back out on the streets again. Violence here is really bad, and it's everywhere, and it's up to the people to stop it. And I keep saying to a lot of friends in England, you've got to get a common law court going again, run properly, with sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, a courthouse, the whole thing set up, and start prosecuting these people, because under common law you have an enormous power and authority. The people have.
Yes.
Anyway, well, listen. What we'll do? We'll call that quits for now. And thank you for coming on. It's been fantastic. And it was great talking to you. And if you got anything else to let me know, just contact me at any time.
Yeah. Thanks, Barry. Thanks for inviting me on.
Been fantastic talking to you. Bye for now.